not 2-to-1. The 2-to-1 came into play with the electronic voting. So when we recounted the paper ballots that look like this, you see there's a serial number on the left here. You've got the name and date of the election. You've got boxes, all the candidates' names. Check, check, check. That meets the criteria for an official ballot. The 2-to-1 came into play with the electronic votes. And we'll get to that in a second. All right, what I want to do is go through the three things. I read the election code top to bottom and said, what are the backup records for electronic voting? The legislature actually did a really good job, God bless the Texas legislature, for putting Band-Aids around this thing. The first thing they require is you have to have a result tabulation. You have to have a computer that adds up all those cards. Okay, makes sense. You have to have precinct returns. And electronic voting machines, you're supposed to print what's called a results tally tape that documents every candidate and the votes they got at that location. And that's a paper backup record that's promised to us by the legislature. And it's in 3 different places of the election code. Okay? The third thing, which is a really interesting issue, it's called a ballot image. Well, what's a ballot image? Well, what's a ballot? Serial number, boxes, candidates' names, name and date of the election. That's what defines a ballot. And what's an image? A picture. So in 3 places of the election code, it talks about ballot image storage. You're supposed to store an image of the ballot and keep that for recounts. In the recount code, it talks about ballot images. Even the certification requirements of the Secretary of State's office says it has to have a ballot image system. It has to have a ballot and an image. So in the recount, I'm like, well, let's do a ballot image recount. You can do 2 kinds of recounts with electronic voting. You can go through the program again, spare me. Why would anybody pay money for that? Or you can do a manual recount of ballot images. And I said, let's do that, because something's just simply wrong. The paper ballots are exactly tied. Let's see what the electronic shows. Travis County told me we can't give you a ballot image. And I'll show you. Let's talk about the tapes a little bit. People, counties that do electronic voting, the judges will print these tapes, and it's in 3 different sections of the elections code. It's actually a misdemeanor for judges not to print those tapes and return it. When you're an election judge, it's serious business, okay? You're supposed to print it, sign the tape, and return it to the county. This is what a tape looks like. You can see it's a long thermal tape. It has every candidate's name and the number of votes they got. This is an old tape back from 2012 of Travis County in Austin. You can see Ted Cruz and Dewhurst when they were running against each other for U.S. Senate. You see each number of the results of each candidate. That's a tape. And what the reason is they print this is in case something happens with the equipment before it leaves the building. They print this right as the polls close. In case something happens to those cards or the equipment, you've got to back up and judges sign it. And they authenticate it, they printed it that night before the equipment leaves the building. Travis, Election Judge's Handbook from the Secretary of State's office also talks about Chapter 66 of the Election Code. Envelope 1, Envelope 2, Envelope 3 is supposed to have the results tape in it. Very clear. Instructions to the judges, you got to print these tapes. Travis County told their judges, do not print the tape. This is a judge's envelope that we got in discovery in our lawsuit. Do not print the tally. That was shocking. That's the backup record. Okay? We asked the county, why did you not print this tape? Not only in our election in 2014, the most recent election in 2016, this is an envelope again. Travis County, again, not learning. Do not print the tally to the judges, even though the election judge's handbook says it and the statute say it. And it's a misdemeanor to not turn it in. Okay? Why didn't you print the tape, Travis County? Well, we got a letter from the Secretary of State's office that says we don't have to print the tape. Oh, you did? In this letter, in that little paragraph down below, it says, don't print the tally tape. Print what's called an access code report, which just shows you how many people came and voted. It doesn't show you the divvying up of the number, which is the intent of the results keyword tape. They told them not to print. We asked the county clerk on the witness stand in one of our hearings, we said, why didn't you follow the law? And she said, well, that's not the final law. My lawyer was really good, and we documented it. He goes, well, what's the final law? And he's talking to the county clerk of Travis County, Dana Debevoise. And she said, there's additional instruction directives from the Secretary of State's office that says we don't follow that law, we do something else. My lawyer said, well, do you think the Secretary of State can tell you not to follow state law? And she said, I know exactly they can, yes. Wow, that's new information, isn't it? That a bureaucrat in the Secretary of State's office who's not elected, who's been there a while, can tell counties to break law. That's new information, isn't it? And I'll tell you what, this is going on all over the state. Waivers to law are being given to counties left and right. Where's the consistency in our laws, in the behavior and in the execution of our elections? Okay, so this was the first thing. No tape. Let's talk a little bit about the ballot image. This is a part of the election code that defines the systems for computerized voting. And this came into play in 1997 before electronic voting came into Texas. Came into Texas about 2001. Number 2 that I've highlighted there says you're supposed to have a main computer to coordinate ballot presentation. You've got to see the ballot when you vote. What's a ballot? Boxes, serial number, date of the election, all of that, all the candidates' names. Ballot press, you got to present the ballot, but we do when you see the little wheel and you see the ballot, you see it presented to you when you vote. Vote selection, that's the little wheel of that electronic machine. Ballot image storage. I presume ballot here means the same as ballot above. Ballot image storage and result tabulation. This law came into play in 1997. I read this and said I'm supposed to have a ballot image when I do a recount. This is the recount code. The recount code talks about ballots being recounted, ballots. That's the word they use because the vote in election in Texas by official ballot, right? Not any old piece of paper. So the election code recounts. So you got to count images of ballots cast, and you can print those. And the candidate can be there when they were printed. So I showed up at the recount and I said, I want to see those ballot images. And I was told, sorry, Dr. Pressley, we can't give you a ballot image, but we can give you something else. It's called a cast vote record. I'm like, that term is not in the election code. I don't know where you came up with that. It's not in the law. So, what does this look like? This is what it looks like. Cast vote record. Print out one per page of what the computer said we voted. Anybody here is a computer person? Data structure is how the votes are counted. So what they're doing is printing one per page of that data structure, not the image, which is a PDF, a JPEG, or a bitmap. We get PDFs and JPEGs of our grandbabies, don't we? Right? We know what images are. This is a printout, one per page of a data structure at the main computer. And this is it blown up. Do you see a serial number on that piece of paper? You even see the date of the election, which is December 16, 2014. I don't see any boxes. I don't even see the name of the election on it. I was in the election, my name's not on there.